Guys, this is Ashley and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new joining here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Ashley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy, so hence you get Dr. Ash and her makeup, but please just call me Ashley or Ash. So today I am doing 3 looks using the Juvia's Place Wahala palette. So unfortunately at the moment this palette did sell out at the Juvia's Place website, but it is a gorgeous palette and Wahala means drama. So we have this beautiful African mask on the front, and then once you open it up we have 20 beautiful shades with a mixture of mattes and shimmers, and we do actually have 3 pressed glitters in the palette. So I am creating 3 looks for you today, and I will go ahead and insert some swatches. So this palette retails for $36, and like I said, it is actually 20 shadows. So this is the largest palette that Juvia's Place has ever done, and it was basically a sneak peek. It was a sneak attack. It was like, ooh, palette available now. I'm like, okay, Juvia's Place, y'all been quiet all year long. So I think this palette actually came out at the mid-May mark, and hopefully it, like I said, it will restock soon. So, you know, even though this palette is $36, Juvia's Place always has sales. There's always a code that you can use to take advantage of getting some money off of your palette. And for reference, I just wanted to kind of show the size of the palette. So this is the size of the palette, is $20, and Juvia's Place is seems like they've been working on scaling down some of their packaging, which is most appreciative. So this is one of their other standard palettes that most people are very familiar with. This is the Magic palette by Juvia's Place. And look how much smaller this particular palette is. Now this Magic palette is the original Magic palette. I know they did release in a mini palette, but I just love that they made it more compact and a little bit easier to store, because most people have palettes at this size where there's just 16 or 15 or maybe even 12 shades, so this is easier to keep around in your makeup collection. So let's go ahead and jump into some swatches, and like I said, I have 3 looks for you and some wrap-up thoughts at the end of the video. Let's go ahead and get started on the first look. My eyebrows are filled in using my Benefit Cosmetics Goof Proof Brow, and then my eyelid is primed as always with the Too Faced concealer. This is the Multi Sculpting Concealer in the shade Butterscotch. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to tap out some of those wrinkles right there creasing in the concealer. And then I have my Sonia G Jumbo Blender, and we're going to go ahead and jump in with the palette. So first up, I'm going to take the shade Pride right here, and I'm just going to lay this down as a nice transition shade. I'm kind of going to pat it. I think this shade is kind of, it shows up on my skin complexion, but it doesn't show up. So it's going to kind of help the blending of our other shadows. So I'm just going to place this right here in the crease. Okay, so like I said, that shade is a very light shade, and it kind of just really set our crease in place and then allow the other shadows to blend more seamlessly. Then with my Crease Pro, this is also by Sonia G, I'm going to go in with the shade BU, and I'm going to put this in the actual crease, so right in there. And this shade is so pretty, and it's very pigmented. So I'm just going to blend this back and forth, and then just kind of start fusing it into that first shade, which was Pride. And I'm just taking my time blending it back and forth. And then I am going to bring it somewhat in also. Dipping back in, same shade BU, going back in with more color. First I'm going to place it down, especially right here because I have extra skin. So make sure that I have shadow there. And then I'll still continue just kind of feathering that up and blending that up. And so with my eyes, I always want to make sure when I look straight on that I have enough pigmentation right there, because if not, my eyelid can look a little droopy. So I just want to make sure that that part is nice and blended and I have proper pigmentation. So I'm going to go in with just a hair more right there. With a Rephr 02 brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of this shade called Unshook. And this is a shimmer shade, but I am going to pack it on the outer corner. So I'm just going to pack it right there, and it's kind of like a grayish color, but it has a little bit of that duochrome flip, and I think it's gonna look lovely in the outer corner and blend it really nice. I like how it complements the shade BU. And I'm just gonna intensify that on that lid, and then just kind of bringing it up so it meets slightly in the crease, but I don't want to take it too far out because I don't want to have too many sparkles up that way. And then with Unafraid, and I'm going to take my Sonia G, this is the Builder Pro. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that shade and put it right next to that shade on that outer corner. And that is really pretty together. So I do want the shade to show up a little bit more intense, so I'm gonna go ahead and wet it with some setting spray. I have my Maybelline Master Fix setting spray. I'm gonna go ahead and wet the brush. I want to finish this up so I can get it off my vanity because it's just a couple of sprays in there. It does not need to be sitting there. So yeah, that just helps intensify that shade. It is a really nice shade on its own, but I just wanted to have a little more punch. I wiped that same Sonia G brush off, and I'm gonna go in with the shade Stand Up, which is a really nice taupe shade. And I'm going to pop that in the rest of the space that we have not used. Right here in this little inner corner lid space, and then kind of feather it in with the shade Unafraid. And that is really pretty. I'm gonna pick up just a tiny bit. This is one of my favorite shades actually in the palette. So there we go. So that eye is looking great. Going back in with that Crease Pro brush, I'm going to just dip right back in with a little bit more BU. And I just want to intensify right here. So we just have a little bit more depth. All right, so this is look number 1. All right, so let's jump into this eye. This eye is prime using that same Too Faced concealer, Jumbo Blender by Sonia G, and I'm gonna pick up the shade Over Sabi, which is this beautiful marigold mustard shade. And you know we have to play with the green, so I'm just going to tap this up here. Oh, this is a beautiful shade, and I'm just going to blend this out right above my brow bone at the top. And I'm just blending this back and forth, feathering out the edges. Then I'm going to pick up some more. All right, so Over Sabi is laid down. Now I'm going to go ahead with my 02 Rephr brush. I'm going to pick up the shade Sis, which is this matte, deep kind of charcoal gray shade. And just tap off the excess, and I'm going to place this in the inner corner just to give a little bit of depth to the look. And I'm keeping it really tight in the inner corner. And I want it to be not quite sure where I'm going with my green shimmers just yet. So I'm just going to pack it in here, and then we'll blend it out in a moment. I think we have a little bit of shimmer left in the brush from the other shade that we used, so, but it's okay. And then I'm just going to start lightly kind of feathering out the edge right here, and I'll change brushes. For Rephr P07 brush, P07C brush, I'm just going to gently blend this out on that outer corner. And I really love how that mustardy marigold shade looks. It's really, really pretty. Sonia G Builder Pro going in with the shade Fighter. Right here, this beautiful green shade. I'm just gonna tap off the brush. And I'm just gonna, look at that. Oh my gosh, this is one of those just beautiful, super foiled shades that were known by Juvia's Place. Look. This shimmer, I mean, their shimmers are getting better and better. I mean, this shimmer is not tightly packed and it goes on like butter. Okay, if you hear a lot of noise, I hope I can edit it out in the background noise option, but they're working on the unit next door to me because they have flooding also, and I was talking about in our last video with the Get Ready With Me, they had some flooding, so they're still finishing up work on that unit. Oh my gosh, this shade. And it has a little dual chrome action in it. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So going in with the shade Gossip. It's a beautiful green shade as well. And popping that in the inner corner. So basically it's the same look, just kind of reverse shadows. You don't have to be so intimidated to just lay the shadows down. Oh my gosh. That is beautiful together. Sonia G Blender Pro, I'm just going to blend this out so we don't have any harsh lines. And these two shades together are just absolutely gorgeous. I do want to go back in with that small crease brush that we had. That was the Rephr P07C. Going right back in with Sis just a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more dimension to the look. But trying not to disturb the mustard shade. And I'm going to bring this in to kind of contour that look, give it a little bit of structure so it's not just shadow up there. And then one more time with the jumbo blender, going back in over Sabi. That was this shade right here, the marigold shade, and just kind of making sure we add a little bit more in. So these are the two looks. I'll be right back to do my face, makeup, lashes. All right, I'm back. Lashes are on, makeup is on. Going in, Sonia G. This is the flat definer brush. We're gonna jump in with the shade called Sis for the bottom lash line on this one. And I'm just gonna run this right underneath the lash line so we give it a little smoky effect. And I don't like to do too much shadow because sometimes it just kind of accentuates maybe a couple of lines I have right here, but I just kind of like to keep it close and not too blown out. So if you're worried about that, keep it tight, but it does kind of help round out the look. But I don't always do shadow there, as you guys know. And then I will pop in with a tiny bit of the shade Unafraid, and we're gonna put it right down there just so you get a little pop of that purple. All right, so for this eye, I forgot to mention, this eye I used a black liner by Pat McGrath. This one I went in with a ColourPop liner. This is called, yeah, it rubbed off, so I don't know. So it was a green liner. It's by ColourPop Cosmetics. You know, they have all these different fun, colorful liners. So for this look, I definitely want to go in with a little bit of the color. I'm going to still keep it with Sis, that same color, but then I am going to take some of that green and wrap it around. Now that I have Sis down, I'm going to go in, same brush, taking Fighter, that is the darker green at the top, and just going to run it underneath that lash line as well. For the bottom lash line, we're going to just do a little bit of mascara to complete the look. This is my Benefit Bad Girl Bang Mascara. All right, so this is the final look. This is an up close of both of the looks, and then I'll pan out so you can see the full face. All right, I'm back, and this is the full face, so you can see the two looks in its entirety. For lashes, I'm using my Kiss Ritzy lashes, and then for foundation, I went ahead with my Juvia's Place, the Hydration foundation sticks, and I used to say Jacmel, and then Abidjan for a little bit of bronzing slash light contour. I will leave anything else down in the description box that I used on my face. But overall, these are the two first looks, and I love them, how they look. I mean, the color story in this palette is endless. So you can mix and match. You could go within and out of the rows and just create so many beautiful looks, or just stay within the row. I mean, the shimmers were magnificent. When I put it on my eye, I did not have any trouble. One shade, Unafraid, this one right here, was the only one that we had to wet, but honestly, I did not have to wet it. That was just my personal preference. I think the shimmers in here are so impactful, and the way that Stand Up goes into this shade Unafraid, it mixes with BU, and then the shade down here, which is called Unshook. I mean, the color combinations are just endless, and these green shades, I mean, Fighter and Gossip, oh my gosh, so foiled, stand out shimmer shades. The formula on those two shades are like some of the best that I've ever seen from Juvia's Place, to be honest. So creamy, so metallic, so much shine, and you definitely don't have to wet it. Very creamy, not hard pressed in the pan. So overall, I'm really impressed with these first two looks. It was so easy to create, as you can see, and it looks like you spent a lot of time. So let's go ahead and jump into one more. All right, I'm back. Eyelids are reprimed using that same Too Faced Multi-Sculpting Concealer. Jumping in Sonia G. This is the Jumbo Builder. Going in again with the shade Pride, because it's one of our lightest shades, so we can set the blending up for our next shade, which will be quite a bit bolder. And I did just wipe the brush off very well in my little towel. So I'm just kind of putting this all in the transition area and kind of setting the concealer down with this shade at the same time. Now with my Sigma Beauty, this is the F63, this is the airbrush blender. I am going to jump in with the shade called Love right here, this bright blue shade, and we're going to start pressing it into the crease, and I'm going to kind of do more a crossover shape versus kind of up and at angle. So I'm just going to start pressing this in because it's so bright. And then I will blend out the edges. And that is usually the best method, especially when you have a color that is so intense. But look at that pigment. I mean, okay. And you got a lot on the brush because you just saw a lot just kind of flickered off. So just pick this shade up carefully. And now I'm just going to kind of blend that in and blend out the edges. And then I'll just kind of go back over again, once again, with that first shade that was called Pride. I'm just going to go back in and just stamp a little bit more so it's really intense along the crease. So we have a lot of pigment there. All right, now that the crease is set up, I'm going back in with the Jumbo Blender, and I'm going to pick up more of the shade Pride right here to help blend out this vibrant color. And I'm just really kind of focusing on the edges so they're softened out. So I don't really want to mess with diffusing out the main part of the crease too much. So I still want it to be very pigment. All right, now that we have that shadow blended out, I'm going in with the Sonia G. This is the Builder Pro, going in with the shade Power, and I have been waiting to play with the shade. Look at the shift on it. I'm so ready to put this on my eyelid. I have been wanting to play with this. So just pressing it on, and then I'll figure out how much I do want to start working that color up. And this shade reacts just like that shade Fighter. It is very foiled, very pigmented. And I do get a little bit of fallout with that shade, so just kind of be careful picking that up. But look at the shine, and I'm just going to start kind of gradually working that up into the crease. And then I'm going to bring in that shade with no additional product, just kind of blending it out as I go. Now with a blending brush, going in Sonia G Builder Pro, we're just going to blend all of this out and make sure that it is not harsh, And it has a nice flow. So I'm just focusing on the edges. I did not put any product on this brush. And I'm just going back and forth, making sure everything is smooth. This, oh my gosh, I'm in love, and it is beautiful. The way that Love reacts, because see, it's just so great with these duochromes because Love is really more of a true blue, but it looks very turquoise when you put it down, and then you put Power over it. That flip, it's just amazing. I picked up my Sephora glitter applicator, and I'm gonna go in with the shade Yanga, which is this beautiful glitter right here. And you know I don't usually do glitters on my channel, but I'm just gonna pick up a tiny bit. So this is all I literally have. There we go. This is all I literally have on the applicator. And I'm just going to ever so slightly kind of tap this on, just so we get a little extra sparkle. This glitter has good sticking power without a glitter glue, but I am going to go ahead and wet it with that same Maybelline mist that we used earlier to just give this a little bit more sticking power. And I'm just kind of tapping this over the eyes so you can just kind of see little flecks of glitter as you look at the eye. Nothing just boom. Okay, so we're gonna stop the look right here, and I'm gonna ahead and add on my liner and lashes, and I'll be all right. I'm back. My lashes are on using those same Kiss Ritzy lashes as before. Dipping back in with the palette right here. Going to pick up my Sonia G flat definer brush. Going back in with the shade Power because it's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. And I saw it put on with a black base like Sis, and it was amazing in that look too. I saw another YouTuber do that. His name is Plastic Boy. He's based out of London, but he did a really pretty look with that. And I just want to let you know, in my waterline, I did put my Pat McGrath Blitz Emerald pencil in the waterline. I'm sorry, Blitz Blue, not Blitz Emerald. She needs a Blitz Emerald pencil and a Blitz Violet pencil. All right, and just so we can have a little pop in the inner corner, I'm going to go in with the shade Envy. That was a shimmer we did not use. This is light lavender duochrome shade with that same flat definer brush. Just gonna pick up a tiny bit and pop it right there. It just gives a little extra sparkle. Ooh, baby. That is pretty. Okay. Yeah, amazing. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of Envy. I'm gonna wrap up with the Bad Girl Bang, and we're just gonna hit up the bottom lower lash line. All right, so this is a close-up of the eye, and it is gorgeous. So let's pull out so we can talk about the palette. All right, I'm back, and this is the final look. So I think it came out fabulous. Once again, I'm using the Kiss Ritzy lashes that I mentioned earlier, and the rest of my face details will be down in the bottom in the description box. So let's go ahead and talk about this palette. I think that this palette is so nice, and it has so many color schemes in it, and it's definitely just like the right pop of color to your collection, especially if you're not a person that wears color. But I think it gives you a lot of different colorful options that are very complementary to a lot of different people's skin complexions, and the colors that people are not so much afraid of wearing, especially like these blue turquoises and these greens, and then you have these mauve shades and the purple, and then you have more lilac. Well, this is definitely mauve right here, more lilac. So I really think that overall, like, they really hit it out the park with this palette. And when I initially saw it, I was like, oh. And then when I saw it swatch, I was like, oh my God, the shades are so beautiful. Juvia's Place has always really been known for their shimmers, but they haven't really done a whole lot of duochromes. Here and there, they'll do a duochrome. I think really in the Try palette, they have a couple duochromes, and then also in maybe the Rephr palette, there's a couple duochromes. But these shades are so impactful. The shimmers are creamy, they're buttery. You don't have any problem applying them to the eyes. I think the matte choices that they use are very complementary to a lot of different looks. They can set you up, and then depending on how you place the mattes, it just kind of changes the whole setup of your eye look because of the duochrome shimmer shades. So I really enjoyed that you have this one shade right here. It's not a dark brown. So most people are going to be like, oh my goodness, I need a dark brown, you know, to darken the outer corner. But these two right here are definitely great options to do that. You have a shimmer option and you have a matte option. And it's a deep charcoal gray brown. That's the color Sis. And it's very pretty. And you could buff it out and blends out very easily. I also really enjoy this mustard shade. That is the shade called Over Sabi. I think that was very bright. It blended out well and you didn't have a problem seeing it. So of course the only mattes that I really did not play with were the ones in this particular row, these red, pink, hot pink mattes. But these I think are more of like a personal preference, so a lot of people probably will not gravitate to those. But I feel like you can just still kind of play around it and they're fun pops of color. So I think you just have so many options within this palette. You can mix and match like I said before, or you could just kind of go down the rows or the columns and just do this curated color story. And I think it was very smart for them to pick up the palette that way, or set up the palette that way rather, because a lot of people can't always visualize what to do with certain colors, but having them in certain color schemes is just great. And especially these first two rows, because even though this is a color scheme and this is a color scheme, you can still have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a beautiful color scheme, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a great color scheme. So these two kind of work very well together. And I just want to say, like, once again, like I said, the shimmers, oh my gosh, the shimmers are so great. Now you do have 3 pressed glitters in here. Pressed glitters to me are like, it's okay, but it's not like a deal breaker. And the fact that it's 3 in this palette and it's 20 shades in this palette, it doesn't seem too many to me. So I think the choices were right, how you have this deep blue, the green, and then the gold. But I feel like what is okay, because you do have so many other shimmer shades that you can use in this palette if you don't want to do any pressed glitters. Unlike some of the other palettes that we see on the market, you know, it might have one traditional shimmer shade and then you have all these pressed glitters and some mattes, and you're like, well, that's pointless because I don't want to use the pressed glitters. But I feel like here you're just kind of sweetening the pot if you have someplace extra special to go and you just want to pop on a little glitter. So overall, I feel like this palette is beautiful. I think it is just so beautiful and I'm really loving it. And I think like the color scheme for me and the shimmers is just really kind of elevated this palette amongst the Juvia's Place collection. So hopefully they bring this palette back soon, because it is definitely worth it. I know it's a little bit higher for a price point. When we're talking about Juvia's Place, it was $36. Usually, you know, they're under $20, but it is a bigger palette for them. So, but I definitely think this is worth it because you can get lots of different use out of this palette. So overall, those are my thoughts on the palette. Let me know which eye look you enjoyed the most. I mean, this one is bomb.com, that green one. All of them were beautiful, so I really can't even choose, but I would probably say this, between this and the green one, is my absolute favorite. And I think that all the shimmers just work so well with each other. And they're not ashy. I mean, well, Juvia's Place never really gives us ashy colors, but I mean, the stuff in here, like I keep saying, it was just so impactful. Like even the shade Stand Up, for a taupey shade, you know, it was just so pretty and so opulent on the eye. So like I said down below, just let me know what is your favorite look that I created today, and give this video a big thumbs up, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel, because you know I would love to have you here in my little makeup family. And with that being said, you already know what time it is. It is time for the chair dance. Hey, chair dance. Hey, hey, chair dance. Chair dance. All right, y'all. Bye.